Hello everyone. So the today's topic is from algebra, polynomials. So let us first understand what is polynomial. So poly means many and nomial means terms. So polynomial involves many terms. So the definition of polynomial is it is a combination of variables and constant. So let's take an example of a general polynomial. Let's say fx is a polynomial, then it can be represented in the form of a0 x to the power n plus a1 x to the power n minus 1 dot 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 up to an minus 1 into x plus a n. So here a0, a1 up to an, these are constants, and x to the power n, x to the power n minus 1 up to x or 1, these are variables. So there is one category of polynomial called zero polynomial. So what do we understand by this zero polynomial? So a polynomial fx is said to be a zero polynomial if all the constants like a0, a1 up to an all are 0. Then the polynomial is said to be a zero polynomial. So if all the constants, let's say a0, a1 up to an all are 0, then the polynomial fx will reduce it in fx is equals to 0. So a zero polynomial is a polynomial in which all the constant terms are 0. So the zero polynomial is represented as fx is equals to 0. There is one term called leading coefficient of a polynomial. So before understanding that, there is a term called degree of a polynomial. So what do we understand by degree of a polynomial? So degree of a polynomial is the degree of a polynomial is called the highest power of x. Let's say this is the polynomial fx. So what will be the degree? The degree of polynomial is n because the highest power of x is n. So let's take an example fx is equals to x square plus 2x plus 3. So what will be the degree of polynomial? So here there are two x terms, x square, x and x to the power 0. So the highest power of x is 2. So we say that the degree of this polynomial fx is equals to 2. So now let's talk about the leading coefficient of the polynomial. So leading coefficient is the coefficient of highest power of x. So let's say we have example fx is equals to a0 x to the power n. So what will be the leading coefficient of the polynomial? The leading coefficient of the polynomial will be a0. Similarly, for this example, fx is equals to x squared plus 2x plus 3. In this example, the leading coefficient will be the coefficient of the highest power of x, that is 1, because the highest power of x is x square, 2, and it will be called like leading coefficient will be 1. So there is a term called monic polynomial. So what do we understand by monic polynomial? If the leading coefficient of the polynomial is 1, then it is called monic polynomial. Leading coefficient is equals to 1, then that polynomial is called monic polynomial. Let's say we have two polynomials fx and gx. it is given that fx is equals to gx. So what this means? This means that it is given that fx is equals to gx, given. So when it is said that two polynomials are equal, so the condition for equality is two non-zero polynomials are called equal if the coefficient of respective powers of x in them are equal. This means that let's say a polynomial is given, like fx is given as x square plus 3x plus 4. Let's say another polynomial gx is given that ax square plus bx plus 4, and it is given that fx is equals to gx. So this is possible only when the respective powers of the respective coefficient of x, like the coefficient of x square here is 1, the coefficient of x is b, the coefficient of x is 3, and the constant term is 4. So if fx is equals to gx, then this is possible only when the coefficient of respective powers of x, that is the coefficient of x square should be same. Similarly, the coefficient of x should be same and the constant term should be same. So if anyone says that two polynomials fx and gx are equals, this means that the coefficient of respective powers of x in them are equal. Let us now talk about theorem 1, which is division algorithm. So according to division algorithm, if let's say fx and gx are two polynomials, fx and gx are two polynomials such that gx is non-zero, not equals to, matlab gx is not a non-zero, not a zero polynomial, then there exists a unique polynomials qx and rx such that fx can be represented in the form of qx into gx plus rx. There is a property of rx that rx is either a zero polynomial or a non-zero polynomial with degree less than gx. We have already talked about degree. So according to division algorithm, let fx and gx be two polynomials such that gx is non-zero. Then there exists a unique polynomial qx and rx such that fx is equals to qx into gx plus rx. The rx will be either a zero polynomial or a non-zero polynomial with degree lesser than gx. So this reminds me of something. What it is? Of the form dividend is equals to divisor into quotient plus remainder. So here gx is divisor, fx is dividend, quotient is qx and remainder is rx. So we can also see it like that. So it's very easy. Like we can understand it like way, let's say dividend is 48 and divisor is 12. So 4 is quotient, 0 is remainder. So we can verify it like that. So it also applies in polynomials, which is possible because of division. Now we have second in line, theorem 2, remainder theorem. It is a very important theorem which states that if fx is a polynomial, and we are dividing it by x minus a, then the remainder will be equal to f of a. So remainder theorem states that if fx is a polynomial and it is divided by x minus a, then the remainder will be f of a. So how we can verify it? So from division algorithm we know that if fx and gx are two polynomials such that gx is non-zero, then there exist two unique polynomials qx and rx, where we can represent fx is equals to gx into qx plus rx. So here rx is remainder, qx is quotient, gx is divisor, and fx is dividend. This is according to division algorithm. So now let's extend it for proving remainder theorem. So in remainder theorem we have a polynomial fx and we are dividing it with x minus a. So fx is dividend, x minus a is divisor, and it is saying that the remainder will be fa. So here dividend is fx, divisor is x minus a. Let's say the quotient will be qx and remainder will be rx. We have to prove that rx is equals to f of a. So according to division algorithm, fx can be represented in this form. So now we are representing it in this form. Fx is equals to divisor times quotient. Quotient is qx plus rx, that is remainder. So now in this expression let's put x is equals to a. So what we will get? If we are putting x is equals to a, then fx is equals to fa. Here if we'll put x is equals to a, then this term will go to 0 into qx plus rx. So this term will automatically be 0, then this remainder will be equal to fa. So it is proved that if fx is a polynomial and it is divided by x minus a, then the remainder will be f of a. So and we also proved it by using division algorithm. So now it's clear. Now we have theorem number 3, factor theorem. So according to factor theorem, if fx is a polynomial and there exists a real number a such that f of a is equals to 0, then x minus a is factor of fx. So factor theorem states that if fx is a polynomial and there exists a real number a such that fx is equals to 0, then x minus a is a factor of fx. So from remainder theorem we know that if fx is divided by fx is a polynomial and it is divided by x minus a, then the remainder will be f of a. So we can represent from remainder theorem we can represent fx is equals to what remainder theorem says. Remainder theorem says that if fx is a polynomial and it is divided by x minus a, then the remainder will be f of a. So we can write fx in this form, like fx is equals to qx into x minus a plus ff from remainder theorem. So the statement of factor theorem is that there exists a real number a such that fa is equals to 0. So here fa is equals to 0. So we can write fx is equals to x minus a into qx. So here fx is represented as the product of x minus a into qx. So let's take an example of 15. We can represent 15 as 3 into 5 and say if a number is represented as a product of two other number, then that two other number is said to be the factor of that number. So 3 and 5 are the factor of 15. So in this case fx is represented as product of x minus a into qx. So here we can say that x minus a and qx are the factors of fx. So from this statement we can say that fx x minus a is factor of fx. You understood what I said? Like if we can represent 15 as a product of, we can represent 15 as a product of 3 into 5 and say that 3 and 5 are factors of 15. Similarly fx is x minus a times qx. So it is a product of two other numbers. So we can say that x minus a and qx are factors of fx. Hence we prove that x minus a is a factor of fx under what condition? The condition was fx is a polynomial, there exists a real number a such that fa is equals to 0, then x minus a is the factor of fx. This is the statement of factor theorem and we proved it using remainder theorem. So now we have quadratic equation. So what is a quadratic equation? Any equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c is equals to 0 where a not equals to 0 is called quadratic equation. It is said that the roots of this equation x square plus bx plus c where a not equals to 0 is, let's say the roots are alpha and beta. Then according to Sridharacharya formula, the roots of this equation is alpha is equals to minus b plus root under b square minus 4ac by 2a and beta is equals to minus b minus root under b square minus 4ac by 2a. So let's see how we are going to prove that alpha and beta are the roots of ax square plus bx plus c. Let's rewrite it as ax square plus bx plus c. Now divide the whole equation by a, then we'll get x square plus b by a x plus c by a is equals to 0. Now let's rearrange it. So let's rearrange it like 2a into x plus c by a. Now adding and subtracting b by 2a the whole square, adding and then subtracting, so it will remain unchanged. Now this term and this term will comprise x square plus 2 into b by 2a into x plus, it is of the form x square plus 2x plus x square plus a square plus 2ax. So we can write it as x plus b by 2a का whole square plus c by a minus b by 2a का whole square. Further we can write it as like b by 2a b square by 4a square minus c by a. So x plus b by 2a the whole square is equals to 4a square b square minus 4ac. Now we can write it like root under b square minus 4ac by 2a plus minus. So x is equals to minus b plus minus root under b square minus 4ac by 2a. Hence we can prove that there exists two roots of the equation x1 and x2. x1 is equals to minus b plus root under b square minus 4ac by 2a, and other root is minus b minus root under b square. Hence we prove that the roots of the equation ax square plus bx plus c will be alpha and beta, which is minus b plus minus root under b square minus 4ac by 2a. So let's talk about the sum and product of root property of quadratic equation. As we know that any quadratic equation can be represented as ax square bx plus c, where a is not equals to 0. Now as we know that there exist the two roots of the equation alpha and beta, so we can also write it as ax square plus bx plus c. Alpha and beta are root of the equation, so from factor theorem x minus alpha and x minus beta are the factors of this quadratic equation. So we can write it at a into x minus alpha into x minus beta from factor theorem. Similarly, we can expand the RHS as a x square minus a times alpha plus beta into x plus a alpha beta. Now comparing the RHS and LHS, so we got a is equals to a by comparing x square minus a times alpha plus beta is equals to plus b by comparing the coefficient of x, and a times alpha beta is equals to c by comparing constant term. From this we can say that alpha plus beta is equals to minus b by a, and from this we can say that alpha beta is equals to c by a. Hence sum of roots is equals to minus b by a, product of roots is equals to c by a. B is what? B is the coefficient of x, a is the coefficient of x square, c is the constant term, a is the coefficient of x square. So sum of roots can be represented as minus times coefficient of x by coefficient of x square. Similarly, product of roots can be expressed as product constant term divided by coefficient of x square. So we have already proved that alpha beta are minus b plus minus root under b square minus 4ac by 2a. Let's define a term delta, which we call determinant, equals to b square minus 4ac. Then we can represent alpha beta is equals to minus b plus minus root under delta by 2a. So let's assume three conditions. Case 1, when delta is greater than 0. If delta is greater than 0, then this term will give some positive value, and there will exist two roots, which is minus b plus minus some positive value by 2a. So if delta is greater than 0, then two distinct real root will exist. Let's assume case 2, delta is equals to 0. So alpha beta is equals to minus b plus minus root delta by 2a. Now as delta is equals to 0, then this term will go equals to 0. Then this will be equals to minus b by 2a. Then in this case alpha and beta both are equals to minus b by 2a. This means that if delta is equals to 0, then a single root will exist this means a single distinct root of exist, like there will be repetition of roots like x minus alpha ka whole square, because we can represent a quadratic equation in the form a into x minus alpha and x minus beta. But as it is clear that alpha and beta both are equal to minus b by 2a, then we can substitute alpha is equals to beta and we'll get the equation a times x minus alpha k square. This means that the repeated root will exist, and that repeated root, here single is, writing single is not correct, but equal root exist. Equal, two equal root will exist. So let's assume case 3, where delta is less than 0. So alpha comma beta is equals to minus b plus minus root delta by 2a. If delta is less than 0, then this the root under root term will be negative, and if under root term will be negative, then it will give imaginary values. Then in this case two imaginary root will exist. So we understood that there are three cases of delta, where in this first case if delta is greater than 0, then two distinct real root will exist. If delta is equals to 0, then two equal roots will exist. Two real and equal roots will exist. In case 3, if delta is less than 0, then two imaginary roots will exist.